Monster Hunter World is one of this year's most addicting titles, giving players a chance to take on massive monsters, master unique weapons, and explore a beautiful living world. This title has been out on consoles for over 6 months, receiving outstanding reviews from both players and critics alike. Unfortunately, the recently released PC port has had a rough time with persistent server issues, crashes that have corrupted save files, and terrible optimization. Hey everyone, Tyler here with Gilded Reviews, and today we're taking a look at the PC release of Monster Hunter World. I want to start off by saying that the main issues preventing players to play on PC seem to be getting worked out. I personally have not had any corrupted save files, and servers are working much better than they were at release. The game does not offer native 21:9 support, which I assume will get worked out. There are also some issues with the mouse and keyboard controls. The mouse tends to feel more like a joystick with a little bit of input lag. I can't quite put my finger on it, but something definitely feels off. Playing with a controller is highly recommended. As a side note, I absolutely think a AAA developer releasing a game at full price should have all of these things worked out, especially since the game has been out on consoles for over 6 months. With that out of the way, let's talk about the actual game, what you can expect, and why so many people have fallen in love with Monster Hunter World. I think Downward Thrust summed it up really well. This game is almost perfect if you enjoy these types of games. Reviewers and critics have stated that this game is fantastic without really letting people know it won't be for everyone. Essentially grinding to craft to grind some more. It's a simple, addicting gameplay loop, but not everyone is going to be into it. I just happen to be one of those people that loves these types of games. If you are unfamiliar with how Monster Hunter works, it's really quite simple. You have a hub where you do all your non-combat related things. Forge weapons and armor, eat, pick up missions, that kind of stuff. Then you have a massive world which is broken up into multiple areas for you to explore. You can go on expeditions and just run around the map collecting mats, engaging monsters as you see fit, or you can hit up the mission board and jump straight into a fight. Once you have killed or captured a monster, you use its mats to create new equipment. This continues throughout the entire game even after completing the story. You would think that it would get old, but it doesn't. This is because of how the game scales. I still have not seen every monster, and each fight, even the ones I have done 10 times before, bring new obstacles I need to adapt to. It really is a living world. From migrating patterns to territorial engagements, things just feel alive. On the progression side of things, you have some fantastic mechanics. First off, each monster has their own learning curve, so not only does your character get better, you do as well. Every fight is different, and learning each monster's set of moves will come naturally over time. Weapon and armor upgrades is where this and other Monster Hunter titles shine. There's just so much here. Each monster has its own set of armor, and usually its own progression line for weapon upgrades. This gets further expanded on as you progress through the game, evolving with your character and the monsters you face. They also offer a ton of different weapons, and each weapon has its own little quirks you need to figure out. We won't get too into it. Every weapon deserves its own guide. Just know that they all have multiple combos you can do to maximize their DPS. The combat is another matter. This is where many people will choose to pass up Monster Hunter. It isn't bad, it just takes some getting used to. Every weapon, as I said before, has its own combos. Unfortunately, the auto-targeting doesn't work very well, and you will consistently be stuck in an animation, swinging at air till your combo ends. You will eventually get used to it and the game's fight mechanics, making everything a lot smoother. Just know, at the beginning, it can be a little rough, especially if you are new to these types of games. The hitboxes are also off. This is an issue that is typical for this genre. It does, however, work both for you and against you. The monsters will have just as hard of a time hitting you as you will hitting it, and some of the lucky attacks you get, they will get as well. It's a learning process, and over time, you will figure out where to stand on each monster to avoid their bigger attacks. That kind of sums up most of the things that I really enjoy about this title. Small things like fishing and how adorable the cats are just add to the overall experience. The game's main story is also decent enough to warrant further exploration. It isn't anything great, but it does give you some incentive to continue your journey rather than just stopping to farm for hours. The few issues I have with this title are more frustrations than downright poor gameplay mechanics. Things like chasing down monsters close to death and trying to hunt dragons that keep flying from one end of the map to the other. This stuff gets old, but fortunately, it tends to get better later in the game. Knowing where these monsters usually stay and having better gear to do more damage make a big impact here. Another small gripe for me is that I feel they reuse the same monsters too frequently. I get it. Designing these massive creatures that all have unique attacks takes time, and I am sure it would be easier to recolor the same monster and add 1 or 2 more attacks, call it a harder subspecies or the high rank version of that monster, but that can get monotonous. I am sure this is common in these types of games, it just kind of stinks. This is really a small complaint and it doesn't really affect the overall gameplay. It just would be nice to have a little more variety. The big problem for me and many others are the servers. At a certain point in the game, you should really start playing with other people. Like I said, the last week or so, things have been fantastic, and I have been able to connect with no issues or disconnects. That being said, many other players are still reporting issues, so it might be a good idea to wait till the servers are 100% operational before you pick it up. When the servers do work, it is easy to hop in and out of different missions. It also makes everything much easier, from farming on an expedition to capturing an endgame monster. Overall, I would give the PC release of Monster Hunter World a 7.9 out of 10. This title is great, offering players an extremely addictive gameplay loop, involving multiple layers of progression, an always evolving world to explore, and massive monster battles that are very different from one another. Unfortunately, the PC port has some issues, including poor mouse and keyboard support, server problems, and bugs that corrupt players' save files. Even though these issues will undoubtedly get worked out, they still put a damper on the overall experience. I still think this title is worth picking up, but only after the servers have been completely fixed. Now, if you are the type of gamer that really enjoys Monster Hunter or the God Eater series, and don't mind going at it solo for a little while, then it is definitely worth picking up now. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I know it has been a while since I have released a review, and I'm sorry about that. My schedule has been rearranged, and I should have videos coming out a lot more frequently. Anyhow, thanks again. And if you liked the video, throw us a thumbs up, check out our other content, or consider subscribing. It really helps us out.